current relative speed to be 12 minutes.
Jimmy Stewart almost died in the sky over
Actual
Nazi-occupied Europe.
20.
James Doohan, Scotty from Star Trek, was shot 6 times on D-Day and nearly left for dead on the beaches of Normandy. Henry Fonda didn't just play heroes. He served aboard a Navy destroyer in the middle of World War II. Kirk Douglas survived a kamikaze attack that could have ended his life long before Hollywood ever knew his name. We remember them for the roles they played, but before the lights, before the cameras, before the applause, there was war. And for some of them, the war never truly ended. This isn't a story about celebrity. It's about what service takes and what some men carry for the rest of their lives. Before Hollywood knew James Stewart as the calm, moral center of American film, he was a bomber pilot flying combat missions over Nazi-occupied Europe. Stewart didn't enlist for publicity. He didn't want special treatment. He didn't perform for cameras or reporters. He wanted to serve. He flew more than 20 combat missions, often at extreme altitude, under constant threat from flak and enemy fighters. Later, he became a commander, which meant something even heavier. It meant sending other men into danger. After the war, Stewart returned home decorated, respected, and outwardly successful. But those close to him noticed something had changed. He was quieter, more serious, less playful than the man audiences remembered from before the war. The lightness was gone. When Stewart played characters burdened by responsibility, guilt, or doubt, he wasn't acting those emotions. He was drawing from memory. Years later, he admitted that the hardest part of the war wasn't flying through enemy fire. It was living with the men who didn't come back. Command doesn't end when the war is over. The war never left him. It simply learned to stay quiet. Most people know James Doohan as Scotty from Star Trek, the engineer who always found a way to keep things running. The steady hand, the calm voice in crisis. What many people don't know is that James Doohan nearly died on D-Day. He was shot 6 times while storming the beaches of Normandy. 4 bullets tore through his leg, 1 struck his chest, another destroyed part of his finger. At one point, he was mistaken for dead. He survived, but the wounds never truly healed. Doohan lived with chronic pain for the rest of his life. If you watch Star Trek closely, you'll notice something subtle. His missing finger is often hidden on camera, not because he was ashamed, but because the world didn't need to see the cost every time he appeared on screen. Yet the cost was always there, in the way he moved, in the strain behind the smile, in the discipline he carried into every role. The war never left him. It simply learned how to stay out of frame. Henry Fonda was already a star when he chose to enlist in the US Navy. He didn't have to go. No one would have blamed him for staying home. But service mattered to him. After the death of a close friend, he felt a responsibility to do more than perform. Fonda served aboard a destroyer, witnessing the machinery of war up close. Not the glory, the process, the discipline, the tension, the weight of decisions made far from the spotlight. When he returned to Hollywood, something had shifted. His performances became more restrained, more serious, more morally grounded. He spoke less on screen, but said more. Fonda rarely talked about his service. Men of his generation often didn't. But the war shaped the man audiences saw afterward. The authority, the gravity, the quiet sense of responsibility. The war never left him. It became part of who he was. Kirk Douglas survived a kamikaze attack while serving in the US Navy during World War II. His ship was damaged. Men were killed. Douglas survived, but survival itself leaves a mark. Later in life, after suffering a stroke, Douglas spoke openly about what war teaches you, that life can change instantly. That strength is fragile, that control is temporary. Those lessons stayed with him. They shaped the characters he chose to play, men driven by will, survival, and inner conflict. The war didn't make him famous, but it shaped the man who became famous. What these men shared wasn't celebrity. It wasn't awards. It wasn't recognition. It was restraint, silence, and the understanding that some experiences don't fade with time. They didn't dramatize their service. They didn't build identities around it. They carried it, quietly. Military service doesn't always show itself right away. Sometimes it looks like discipline, sometimes seriousness, sometimes silence. Sometimes it looks like a man who doesn't laugh as easily anymore. Sometimes it looks like a performance that feels too real to be acting, because it isn't. These stories aren't about fame. They're about what service leaves behind, long after the uniforms are folded away, long after the headlines fade. If this story meant something to you, if you believe the cost of service should be remembered, not just the headlines, not just the fame, but the weight behind it, then I invite you to be part of this community. Subscribe, not for algorithms, not for trends, but to keep these stories alive. Because history fades when no one tells it, and the men who carried that weight deserve more than a footnote. If you've served, thank you. If you haven't, thank you for listening. And if you want more stories told this way, I'll see you in the next one.